Okay, brilliant. Okay, thanks for joining me. All right, I really like these meetings, these get-togethers, because they're not structured, and it's really just a chat so that we can have just an open conversation about the recommendation and the properties which I've looked at. And I can answer any questions, obviously, that you may have. Okay. Hey, Mimo, how are you?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
You haven't missed anything other than me saying
What
thanks.
time do I have set? What's the time? 7.
That's okay.
Sorry.
You honestly you haven't missed anything I've said hi. So thanks for coming. Look, I was just saying I really like these meetings or these get-togethers because it's not a structured chat. It is really just a chance for us to meet and chat, and I can answer any questions about the property which I've recommended or anything else which I've looked at. Okay. Hey, mate. Oh, Sean's in hospital. Okay, so we might start the properties which I've recommended. First of all, let's have a chat about Haven. Haven, in my opinion, is the standout of all the developments which I've looked at. All of the developments have all got their pros and cons, and they're all good in many respects, and they're all selling products. So it's not like any of the projects I looked at were hideous and aren't going to make sales. They're all going to make sales, and you can see it from the sales volume and the transactions which are going through. So it's not like any of them are terrible, but I think personally Haven is the absolute gold star winner because I believe Haven is the one that's going to get us the best capital growth. It's the one that's going to pay for itself and give us a really good rent yield. And going forward, it is the sort of property that you would like to hang on to, you know, for the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years going forward. It's a really, really good property. The one area that Haven doesn't fit my criteria is that boutique criteria. So when I'm looking for a property, I'm looking for something that's within 15 kilometres of the Melbourne CBD. I want something that's near public transport. I want something that's near parks. I want something that's near shops. There's a whole list of criteria I'm looking for. One of the things that I'm looking for is I'm looking for a boutique development as well. This doesn't fit that criteria. In every other respect, Haven ticks every single box, and Haven's a really, really good project and development to buy into. The pros and cons with it being a larger development, the most obvious pro with it is that being a bigger development and having more space, the developers can make the roads a bit wider and larger than you'd normally get in a smaller development. There's more open space, and when the project is built and finished, those roads will actually be given to the council, and the council will maintain those roads. It means that rubbish bin collection is going to be done right in front of the townhouses. The big one is there's no owners corporation, and that's really rare. Out of all of the developments I looked at, this is the only development that doesn't have owners corporation. And in many respects, this particular development at Haven reminds me very much of a recent development I bought for the buying group down at Hampstead Park. Hampstead Park, g'day Simon. Oh, he's connecting. Hampstead Park was similar in that Hampstead Park was on the slightly... G'day Simon, how are you?
Good, mate, good.
Good. Thanks for joining us. We've just made a start on just having a chat about Haven, the Haven development, and the fact that Haven ticks everything I look for in an investment property.
Yep.
Right. So the proximity to the city, the proximity to transport, the proximity to parks, the capital growth, the gearing of it, everything about it I really like. But there's more townhouses in this project than I would ideally normally have been looking for. So it doesn't fit the boutique definition of boutique. But the pro with that is that with this particular development, we don't have owners corporation fees. And that's going to make a really, really big bearing on our gearing and our affordability for this project. So I would normally make an allowance for an owner's corporation fee of about $4,500. Okay, so that's $100 that we're going to sacrifice every single week from our rental income to help support that property. And the only people that get the benefit of the owners' corporations are the tenants which are living there. We don't get the benefit of it as landlords. We simply have to pay this bill. Okay, so with Haven, we don't get the owners' corporation. And out of all of the developments I've seen, this is the only one that doesn't have owners' corporation. Okay, the last development that we bought into, which is Cascade, which Simon is familiar with, that's got owners' corporation fees, and all of the developments I looked at on that particular search all attracted owners' corporation fees. The ones I did at Hampstead didn't have owners' corporation fees, but you're talking about one project in, well, we're probably batting somewhere around 75. Okay, so 75 of the developments have got owners' corp. Haven doesn't, Hampstead Park doesn't. So it is difficult to come across, it's rare. So I think the best way to compare Haven is like a new land subdivision, like a new estate. So Lisa, you'd be familiar with the new estates around Shepparton and the way the new land releases and estates are developed over time and the way the interest is built up in them. Okay. The benefit with this is that it's a larger project that's going to have a lifespan that's ongoing. And there's going to be future stages with this type of development. So it's not being built in one hit and then released to the market. There will be staged releases of it. A bit, again, like a land subdivision, Lisa, in Shepparton. When we've got land subdivisions or staged subdivisions, prices always go up. They never go down from one stage to the next stage. The prices may hold level, all right? So they might stay at the same level, but they never go down, okay? They usually go up. What we've found with Haven and Fabric, both of the agents at both of those developments have said that with each stage release, the prices are going up between $5,000 and $15,000. So the beauty of Haven being a larger development is that the developer will have these stage releases. They will generate the interest for us. They'll create the demand. By creating the demand, they create the future capital growth, which then increases our equity. I think what we'd find with Haven, this current release of townhouses is due for settlement in 2023. By the time we settle at Haven, if we buy Haven in 2023, there'll be another 3 or 4 staged releases. If the stage releases have an increase of between $5,000 and $15,000 with each stage, okay, by the time we sell in 2023, there's 4 more stages. Let's say each stage averages a $10,000 increase. By the time we sell in 2023, those properties have gone up $40,000. If we then get a $40,000 discount through our bulk buy, we've then gone and created $80,000 equity. So there's 10% that's being created out of thin air. So we're $80,000 richer when we settle the properties. So we get the benefit of that. So I like that. That's the plus side of having a larger development and the staged releases. The downside, okay? So with every pro, there's got to be a con. The con is that there's going to be stage releases. The developer is going to create interest and demand, and we're going to get the benefit of the capital growth. But if the next stage goes up $15,000, it doesn't mean that you can turn around and ask $50,000 more for your townhouse because the developer has only increased them by 15 grand. Does that make sense? So you're going to get the benefit of the $15,000 increase, but you can't then go above and beyond it because they're creating demand. They're also creating a ceiling. Mimo, you got a question?
I didn't get the last bit. I didn't understand it. Sorry.
Okay. So we've got a staged increase. So a stage increase comes along in 3 months' time. Okay, and those townhouses, which are now asking $752,000, in the next stage, they're asking 767. All right. So the next stage, they've gone up $15,000. The developer starts selling those townhouses for 767,000. Okay. It means that our townhouse is now worth 767,000 because that's now the new market comparison. So that becomes our new market value on comparative basis.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's 767,000, but you now want to sell your townhouse. There's no point asking for your townhouse 790,000.
Yeah.
No point. Okay. Because there's stock available at 767.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. So you've made 15. That's great. Now that's been made for you because, again, the developer, he's out there and they're setting the benchmark and they're setting the market for us. Okay, which is great. That's the pro. But as I say, the con is that you're getting increases and you're going to get regular staged increases, but there'll be a limit to those increases. The other thing, though, is I think that the increases will pick up in size as we get closer to 2023, because when 2023 comes, and again, we're ready to settle at Haven if we buy at Haven, by then, the new tunnel, and Simon will probably have a better idea than me, but that new tunnel, Simon, should be done in 2023, shouldn't it? I mean, they're talking 2022. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, look, it's somewhere around there.
Yep.
But obviously there's some delays going on in that space.
Okay.
And that stuff's going to have to play out. So
Yeah.
Don't have a crystal ball, unfortunately. If I did, I'd probably make more money elsewhere.
Fair enough. But it's going to happen. So the tunnel is under construction and the state government's committed to it, and there is going to be a new tunnel, which is going to be in addition to the Westgate Bridge. So there's going to be better access points for people to get from the city to Altona and vice versa. They've got new raised railway lines out there, new railway stations going out there. They've got a lot of road widening. There's a lot of money that's being spent on infrastructure out there, and we'll get the benefit of that in 2023. So right now, the tunnel hasn't opened. Right now, those railway stations are under construction, but again, haven't been opened. So I think that area it will go through an explosion, which is why I'm excited about that inner western suburbs. Because if we went out in the eastern suburbs 11 kilometres and we ended up at Kew, all of a sudden we're spending 1.795 million for a similar townhouse, and it's $1 million more, and the funding simply isn't there. So I think that area is ready for a bit of an explosion. So that's, as I mentioned, that's the only thing, I guess, about Haven that I think warrants a bit more explanation. The fact that it's not a boutique development, but I think that the pros outweigh the cons. So again, the pros are, and it's a massive pro, there's no owners corporation, and I'd say that's a better part of $4,000 to $4,500 we're saving per annum. And I again like the idea that we're going to get regular staged capital growth through the release of new stages. Okay. All right. Are there any questions about that? No. Okay. The rest of it, guys, I think it's pretty much straightforward. Okay. So you should have all received a soft copy. You should have all received a soft copy of the brochure, and I've got brochures here, which are available. Okay. I've got the floor plans, etc. Okay, so you can have a look at those. Again, I've got hard copies of those. The display, if you want to go and have a look at the display, I know Mimo has seen the display. If anyone wants to go and have a look at the display, you're welcome to go and have a look and speak with the agent, Carol. The display is where the project is, and it's at 278 to 288 Black Shores Road in Altona North. And I'm happy to email you that address. Okay. by all means, if you want to go and visit and have a look at the display and have a look at the amenities and the parks and what's going on in the area and get a bit more information, you're more than welcome to go and have your own look. It's just a case of calling the agent now, Carol, and going down there and walking through the displays. With COVID, they've stopped the set home opens at this stage, so appointments have to be organised privately with Carol. So by all means, have a wander through there. The only other thing we then need to do is we then need to work out if it's a project that we want to proceed with, if we want to go ahead, and then we simply work out the numbers. So you've got the floor plans, you've got the master plan, which is this one here. So you've all got the master plan and you've all got floor plans. Okay, so those floor plans have got the lot numbers on them, and then those lot numbers marry up with your master plan. Okay, there's enough stock there, I believe, to satisfy the group. Okay, we pick a townhouse if you're interested in participating, and then from there I'll work out who's interested, who's participating, and then I can work out the numbers for the negotiations. So the prices which I've quoted in my emails are all the prices now. They're not negotiated prices, they're not discounted prices. So the minimum that I want is a 5% discount. The townhouses at Hampstead Park were very similar to the ones here at Haven. They were 750,000 was the market value for those. We managed to get those for 700,000, which I was really, really delighted with. But that was a slightly bigger discount than 5%. I managed to negotiate in excess of 6% there. I think it was about 6.7%. So that ended up being a really, really good negotiation. But again, we'd work out the numbers, and then from there, we'd work out who's interested, and then from there, I'd work out the numbers and make the offers. Okay. Any questions about that? No? Okay. All right. I don't expect that this is going to be an issue. I don't because I think that there's enough stock. So I think that, Lisa, if you're interested, and Simon and Mimo and etc. Look, and Michael, if you're all interested, I think that there's enough stock there that you can pick a townhouse, and we're not necessarily going to clash, because I think that there is enough choice amongst there for us to all be satisfied. If it does come down to a clash, I've got the list here. I've got the list of the order that people have signed up into the buying group. So if there was a clash, Lisa, you're the first one to sign up in the buying group. So you get the first pick of the townhouse that you want. And then Simon, you'd be second. Michael, you'd be third. Sean, who unfortunately is in hospital, I just got the message, who would be fourth. Mimo, James couldn't make it, so we're recording it, but James gets the last, and then I come after that, then I get the last one after that. So I get whatever's left. I think that they're all very, very good townhouses. For what it's worth, I think the 3-bedroom and study and the 4 bedrooms are the pick, but you have your own choice. Obviously, you might look at those plans differently to me. All of the townhouses have got options for upgrades. I personally don't think that upgrades are necessarily important. What I've quoted, what are you doing, Lisa?
Oh, my cat just came and jumped on me.
Oh, is that a cat? Oh, that's okay. Yeah. I thought you're being attacked by a fur.
Yeah, no, a furry cat.
Okay, that's fine. I don't think that the options are necessarily important, except perhaps with the exception of additional split system air conditioners. But there are options. For instance, you can make the Caesar stone on your kitchen bench tops. You can make it a little bit thicker. So there's the standard width bench top, and then there's one which is slightly thicker. You've got some with waterfalls over the benches. Lisa, you'd be familiar with this from from the new
Yeah.
homes. There's a certain upgrades that you can put in there. Obviously, upgrades, everything comes at an additional expense. Again, what I've quoted with every project I look at, I want to know what it's going to cost us as a base figure to get into that project, because every single project has got options for different flooring, different width bench tops, as I've mentioned, etc. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we get the sweet spot between a property that's going to attract capital growth. Haven's going to get that, in my opinion, because of the infrastructure which is being built in that area, its proximity to Melbourne, 11 kilometres and 5 kilometres from the bay. So I believe it's a prime position to get maximum capital growth. But the other thing that we want is we want the rent yield, and we want to make sure that the property is affordable. I think that with the standard of fittings and fixtures that they've got in there, we're going to get tenants. Anyone is going to rent the property. We'll get a good rental figure for it, which I expect will be between $600 and $650 per week. And at the end of the day, if your bench top is that thick or that thick, it's not going to make any difference on your rent yield. Now, you might choose to upgrade for personal reasons because you like one thickness over another thickness, and you think that that might get you extra capital growth. You be the judge on that. I don't think it's necessarily important or necessary, but those options are there. So that's why if you've got the opportunity, particularly for the guys in Melbourne, so Simon, Michael, etc., if you want to get down to the display, it's really worth going and having a look. The display is fantastic. The last thing I will just mention, because you guys may not have seen this before, and I'm going to try sharing my screen very quickly. So you would have seen the cash flow projections, which I've sent to you. Now, Lisa Mimo has seen one. I'm not sure the other guys have. So let me show you here. Cash flow for, okay, cash flow for Haven. Hopefully this is going to work. Come on. This is, these cash flows are in the emails. Open up. Geez, I love technology. Is that not going to open up? Can everyone? Oh, hang on. Now it's opening. You should have received. I'm trying to load myself up. And this is a projection that I've put together. And I've put together for all of the projects which I buy. As I mentioned, guys, I want something that I think is going to get maximum capital growth. But at the end of the day, I don't want to put a massive noose around any of our necks, and we end up with a property that is going to cost us a lot of money, and at the end of the day, it impacts on your cash flow and your lifestyle, and you think, holy crap, what have I gone and committed myself to, and I can't afford it, and I'm not going to go and buy any more properties. What my hope is that you buy this property, and then you hang on to this property, and then when you're ready, be that in 6 months or 18 months or 2 years or whatever it is, you then go and expand your portfolio and buy another property. So I've got to demonstrate to you how this is an affordable business proposition, and it's going to pay for itself. So can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so this is a cash flow projection for Haven. Okay, as I mentioned, the asking prices at the moment, I've taken a 3-bedroom and study for $352,000. I've made an assumption that we're buying it for $710,000. Okay, obviously I haven't negotiated this, but we want a 5% discount. Would end up at about $710 for a $752,000 property. Okay, if we buy a $710,000 property, the stamp duty that we're going to be paying the Victorian State Government's $18,835. I'm going to assume for this exercise that everyone is going to borrow the full amount. Okay, so you may have money tucked away. You may be able to come up with 100,000, 200,000, 10,000, right? That's up to you guys. But for this exercise, I'm going to work on a worst case scenario. We're borrowing the full contract price, $710. The stamp duty, we've gone to the bank and we've asked for 100% lend of $728,835. It's probably going to be less, but let's work on that. If we then go to the bank and we get a loan, I've assumed borrowings of an interest only, at 3.9%. There's cheaper interest rates out there, okay? There's lots of products out there. There's lots of financial institutions and lenders. We can get a better rate. But again, I want to work on a worst case scenario. So I've worked on the basis of a 3.9% interest only loan, borrowing the full amount. The interest bill each year is $28,424. So that's what we've got to pay to service our mortgage. Okay, we've got council rates, which are about $1,500. The important thing here is that we do not have owners corporation fees. So I've left that out deliberately. I haven't forgotten it. They just don't exist. I'm assuming insurance, everyone knows about building insurance and everyone's going to have building insurance, I'm sure. The other thing that I would strongly recommend is that everyone goes and gets landlord insurance. It protects you in the event that you have a tenant that does malicious damage, they do a runner, they've got rent owing. There's all sorts of protections for you, the landlord. It's tax deductible. It's certainly worth doing. It's a no-brainer. You're just going to do it, okay? So I will get quotes and we will look at that down the track. But I've made an assumption of $1,000. We can get it for less than that. I've put that in there. Okay, we're going to rent the property down here for $625 per week. I believe it's worth every day of the week between $6 and $6.50, and I'm quoting today's marketplace. Okay, so in 2023, it might be a bit higher, but let's work on today's figures of $625. So $625 per week, 52 weeks in the year, gives us an income of $32,500. Okay, we need a real estate agent to look after our investment property for us. They're going to find the tenant and they're going to manage the property for us. Okay, and they're going to want 6.6%. I will negotiate a bulk deal for us, and we'll get lower management fees from the estate agencies because we're doing everything in bulk, and that's what I've done with all of my other deals. But let's assume that we pay the agent what they want, 6.6% management fees. That means over a 12-month period, the estate agent is going to take $2,145. Okay, so our interest on the loan, our council rates, insurance, the estate agent's management fees, our total outgoings, the costs for this property are $33,069. We have a rental income of $32,500. So we have a negative cash flow. So this is a negatively geared property of $569. Okay. Everyone with me so far? Mm-hmm. Okay, fantastic. So it's physically cost us just under $11 a week. It's not a bad outcome. It's not a bad outcome. So the first year, we've bought the property, we've settled the property, we've found the tenant, and we've had to carry this expense, and we're out of pocket $569. Okay, the end of financial year comes, and we give this information to our tax agent. Right? And we show that we've got a negatively geared property and it's cost us $569. I have here the deductions, which are the depreciation on the property. Now, I don't have a depreciation schedule for Haven. I've asked for Haven, okay, and they don't have one. They simply don't have one. That's not uncommon. In fact, the vast majority, 90%, of the developments I've looked at don't have a depreciation schedule. I'll organise a depreciation schedule that comes through a quantity surveyor. This $14,000, however, I didn't just make up this $14,000. That figure, $14,000, has come from my Hampstead Park townhouses, which I recently bought in Maidstone with another buying group just recently. So I'm taking an educated guess. What we bought over there was 3-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom, 3-story townhouses. They're very much comparable with Haven. So I've used that figure, okay? So we go to our tax agent, we give them our negative gearing of $569. We give them the report from the quantity surveyor, which shows that we have depreciation, which we can claim in our tax return of $14,000. So it means that on paper, our total loss for this property is $14,569. Remembering it's only cost us $11 a week. Okay, after we've given that to our tax agent, they then put that into our tax return, give it to the tax office, and we go for a refund, okay? Down here on the refunds, you can put in there your own income bracket. Okay, so whether you earn between $37,000 and $90,000 per annum, between 90 and 180,000, or above 180,000. Obviously, depending on your tax bracket, there's different tax rates. Let's assume for this exercise that we're in the lowest of the tax brackets, which is the $37,000 to $90,000 tax bracket. We've put in our deductions up here, and what we get back from the government in a tax return is $5,026. Okay, and that comes into our bank account, and that's a lump sum payment, right? At the end of the financial year, our bank account goes up $5,026. That's your money, right? You use that any way you like. If you want to go on a holiday, you want to pay for grocery shopping, whatever you want to do, that's your $5,000, and you use that any way you like. If you're prudent, out of that $5,000, you'll make sure that you keep aside $569, because next year you're going to be out of pocket $569, okay? And you need to cover that. This $5,000 covers that. Now, this property isn't costing you money. In fact, every year, this property is making you money. It's still considered a negatively geared property. It's it's what I would call almost neutral. If that figure there was 0, it's a neutral property. Okay, it's not costing us any money. If there was any money left over, it'd be a positively geared property. This is technically speaking a negatively geared property, but nonetheless, even though it's negatively geared, at the end of the year, we get a refund check for $5,026, and we're actually in front. That's how this property will then pay for itself, and it will continue to pay for itself going forward. So this doesn't negatively impact your cash flow. And then once you've done this and you've had this going for however long until you feel comfortable, once you're comfortable with this, then you're ready to buy the next property, because this will pay for itself. Okay, so this is a property that will get the capital growth for the reasons I've mentioned. It's a property, even though it's negatively geared, it's a property that will pay for itself. What I've done in the exercise, that's Haven. On the last email which I sent each of you of my recommendation for Haven, you might remember on that email I mentioned Fabric, Yarra Bend, and Adorn. Right? Everyone remembers that?
Yep. Okay.
I've also done, for this exercise, I've done a cash flow projection for Yarra Bend. Okay, and here it is here. Now, Yarra Bend, this is, there's only a few minor differences with Yarra Bend and Haven, okay? Yarra Bend, they're 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom townhouses. They're asking $750,000. Over at Haven, they're asking $752,000, okay? So I've made an assumption that we're buying both properties for the same amount of money, $710,000, okay? All of this information is the same, with the exception of, you can see here, at Yarra Bend, they want $4,550 for their cheapest and smallest 2-bedroom and 2-bathroom apartment. Once you get up to a slightly larger apartment, all of those owners corporation fees started exceeding $5,000. Okay, so $5,000 a year is a lot of money. So with Yarra Bend, I've had to go and incorporate here the owner's corporation fee. Okay, with Yarra Bend, that's Haven. With Yarra Bend, the other difference is the rent. Okay, with Haven, it's a 3-bedroom plus study, 2.5 bathroom, 193 square metre townhouse with courtyards and balcony and garaging for 2 cars. With Yarra Bend, it's 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1 car. So the rental on Yarra Bend is simply less. Okay, so at Yarra Bend, the rent is $575 per week. Haven, it was $625 per week. The difference is down here, this negative cash flow. Whereas Haven is costing us just under $11 a week to service, this property at Yarra Bend, same purchase price, Okay, but the difference is this one's costing us $145 each week. Okay, the other difference is it flows through down here to the depreciations. Again, simply because Haven is bigger, it has more fittings and fixtures. It has more depreciable items that we can claim at tax time. Okay, again, Yarra Bend, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, less fittings and fixtures, less write-offs. Okay, so this figure of $8,000, again, not a guess. I've actually taken the $8,000 from Cascade, which was a project I recently bought in. They had 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom apartments there, and their depreciation was $8,000. So again, it's an educated guess. The difference then flows through to our tax returns. So down here, you can see we've made a loss of $15,000. We now claim that in our tax returns, and what we get back is $5,364. Okay, but the negative cash flow on this property, it's physically cost us out of our own pocket. It's cost us $7,547. So our tax return hasn't covered our negative cash flow. And what that means is that if I was buying at Yarra Bend, there's a finite number of properties I can afford at Yarra Bend before I run out of money. Because if every property costs me money, even if it's only a little bit of money, every property is then impacting my salary, my take-home amount of money, and my lifestyle. And I'm going to eventually run short. Okay, so Yarra Bend has a finite number of what I can afford. With Haven, using that example I showed you here, if it's only costing us $569, but I then get $5,000 back, I could keep on doing that indefinitely. Okay, so these are the sorts of things which I take into consideration as well as the capital growth. So that's why those projections are included in the emails which I sent to you. Obviously, you can play around with this as much as you like, and you'd play around with it up here. Okay, so this total for the loan, okay, you could change that to, depending on your financial circumstances, you could change that to 600,000. Then the interest on the 600,000 would flow down to here. That would obviously be a lesser number. We could get a lesser interest rate. We could save on agents' fees, etc. So this is just a working prototype, but it's something which I do for all of the developments which I buy into and I keep an eye on. Okay, all right, guys. That's. Oh, you still there? Everyone can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Yep.
That's me over, because it's not about me talking and lecturing you. Okay. So I really now just want to have a chat. So if anyone's got any questions, I know Tim asked some really good questions yesterday. Michael, I know, wanted to ask some questions. Feel free, because even, you know, you might think that the question's obvious, but someone else in this group might think, well, that was a bloody good question. When I did a similar group meeting like this when I bought at Hampstead Park, I started telling the group about Hampstead Park and the shops nearby and the Maribyrnong River, and I started waxing lyrical about the location, how great it was. And then we found out that someone within our group actually grew up like next door. So rather than me talking about the area, he took over and said what a great area it was and where he used to ride his bike. So I really like the interaction with these groups, because we can all learn something. So if anyone's got any questions, please feel free to fire away. Yeah, Mimo.
A few questions. The first one is, why there is a difference in the depreciation schedule, even if it's smaller?
Because the depreciation takes into account the fittings and fixtures. So if you've got 2 bathrooms in Yarra Bend, but you've got 3 bathrooms, effectively two bathrooms and a powder room in Haven, well, immediately you've got more depreciations in the bathroom. Haven is bigger at 193 square meters, so there's more carpet.
Okay,
you know?
okay. So,
So it's a fittings and fixtures. It's a fittings and fixtures.
The bigger the higher the depreciation because you have more
Yes.
things to depreciate. Beautiful. The other thing is in terms of growth,
Yep.
is it recommended to go with the bigger property or a smaller property having the same price? We were on the same, like the same area, like Altona, like in Haven.
Yep.
Haven, if we were to buy that 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, or 4-bedroom, 2.5 bathrooms at the same price, which one will grow more?
You have a hand up in the corner of your computer there, which is very interesting. How did you do that? You can give me a lesson later, but I can see your hand, which is very
that's
interesting.
why I did it on purpose.
That's good.
And then it says reactions, because when you have too many people, you can't see everyone. And it says,
oh, now Tim's done one as well. Oh, very clever.
Oh,
Okay,
yes.
you're all smarter on this than I am. Believe me, I can see that. Listen, Mimo, there's no right or wrong. Okay, so look, it's personal preference. Obviously, if you buy a bigger townhouse, so a 4-bedroom townhouse, it's bigger and it's going to simply cost more initially. So it comes down to your affordability and what you think is the best going forward. So, you know, look, I've bought townhouses at Hampstead Park, bought townhouses at Cheltenham and various other places. And within our group, there's always been some people that have gone and bought a 4, and there's some people that have gone and bought 3s. Look, it's just personal preference, but bear in mind that the bigger the townhouse, obviously, the higher your initial cost is going to be. Okay, so the purchase price is higher, but it may not necessarily flow through to a much higher rent. So you want to marry up yield and capital growth.
Let me reiterate and articulate my question differently. So 2 properties at the same price, like here, but I'm putting them on the same suburb.
Right.
Which one will have more capital growth, the 4-bedroom or the 2-bedroom?
The 4-bedroom or the 3-bedroom?
Or the 2-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom, or 2 bedrooms, 2-bathroom townhouse. They are both townhouses. One is 4, one is 2.
I would say that typically the 4-bedroom. I mean, if they're the same price.
Yes,
right,
same price, same initial price.
I would say that typically the 4-bedroom is more likely to garner more capital growth going forward. Bigger
of the size.
Just because of the size, bigger target audience. But if both townhouses were the same square meterage, so if both townhouses were, say, 180 square meters in size, but within that 180 square meters in size, one townhouse had 4 bedrooms and one had 3 bedrooms, you'd want to then look at the individual sizes of the rooms, because I wouldn't want 4 really pokey bedrooms. I'd prefer 3 better laid out, more spacious bedrooms. So really, each of us needs to look at the floor plans, and there'll be aspects about the floor plans that you like and other aspects that you don't like. And each person's going to look at them differently. And there's no right or wrong, guys. They're all good. I mean, they're all going to go up in value and they're all going to appreciate. It's just that, you know, for whatever reason, someone has a preference for one floor plan over another floor plan. I really don't think it matters. From my experience, whether it's Cascade, Hampstead Park, whether it was Carnegie, whether it was Cheltenham, whether it was Carlton, whether it was, doesn't matter. You know what? They're all in the development. They're all appreciating and they're all going up, because it's the development overall that is an attractive development and, you know, well priced, etc.
And my last question for the moment: which property do you think will appreciate more, Yarra Bend or Haven?
I think that in 10 years from now, I think that Haven I think if we've got a 193 square metre townhouse in Haven versus an 80 square metre apartment in Yarra Bend, excuse me, I think that Haven is going to come up trumps eventually. Right now, if you were saying, would you prefer to live in Alphington or Altona North, I would say that Alphington wins. And I bet you that the median house price in Alphington is higher than the median house price in Altona North. Alphington's only 6.5 kilometres from Melbourne in the eastern suburbs. That's where Yarra Bend is, right? So Yarra Bend 6.5 kilometres versus 11 kilometres at Altona. Alphington isn't established. It's a very well-respected, very well-established inner city, Melbourne suburb, and it's a great suburb. Okay, so no question about it. So Alphington, as far as a suburb goes, Alphington is brilliant. So it's a blue chip suburb that's just going to keep on rocking along, and it's just going to keep creating nice, regular, steady capital growth, and we'll keep on doing that indefinitely, right? So whether it was Hawthorn, Kew, Alphington, those sorts of suburbs, they'll keep on rocking along. I think Altona North and Haven, I think, is an undiscovered jewel because of all of the infrastructure that's going out there. Just on hard infrastructure, the state government is spending $70 billion. Now, this is just on some of their main projects. They've got the Melbourne Airport rail, the rail. So you know that they're linking Tullamarine with Melbourne. Hopefully everyone's aware of that. And they're putting in a new station, and they're creating a hub over at Sunshine and upgrading the lines there. So they're doing a train line out to the airport. We've got the Metro Tunnel, which was already discussed, the M80 Ring Road upgrade, the CityLink Tullamarine widening, and the Suburban Rail Loop. Just that's costing $70 billion. That area, I think it's going through a gentrification, and I think that area is poised to go Barney bananas, but it will go Barney bananas, in my opinion, once the accessibility through the tunnel and the new railway lines and railway stations, once the infrastructure's there and they build it, people will come. Like it'll take off. So I think, I think Haven will win. Also, Haven at 193 square metres is just going to attract more capital growth than 80 square metres. So yeah, Haven.
Thank you.
Tim, did you have some questions, mate, or were you just showing me how to put your hand up?
I was just showing you how to put a hand up, mate.
Oh, were you? Okay, thanks, mate. All right. Any other questions? Michael,
I've got a question, Mark. Yeah, I got a question. Because there's so many of the same properties in the estate, will we struggle to get capital growth, do you reckon, if there's so many for sale in the future? Or
no. You know what, Michael? Now, good, and that's a really, actually, I'm really pleased that you brought up that question, because you know what, I had the same concerns when I was buying at Hampstead Park. So Hampstead Park fitted exactly. Hampstead Park and Haven have got an incredible number of similarities, and Hampstead Park, I had the same reservations about Hampstead Park, simply that it wasn't by definition boutique, and it was on a larger scale. But again, larger scale, wider roads, bigger parks, infrastructure going over to the council then maintaining it, and there's no owners corporation fees. But in order to create the boutique and the separation, they've got a number of different facades. And excuse me, within the internal designs, I don't actually have my email in front of me. Over at Haven, there's, I think it was 11, I think from memory, it was 11 different designs at the moment, and there'll be, in future stages, there will be new designs and variations coming out. and there's different facades. So rather than driving down the road and having just a continuous road with all the same looking homes, it's all broken up. If you can make it over to the display suite, they've got some really fantastic artist impressions of the facades, and you can see all the different sorts of facades. So the way they did it at Hampstead Park, because Hampstead Park is almost ready to settle, like we're this close to settling at Hampstead Park. They've gone and built the facades in pairs, and then they've got, they had 6 or 7 different designs, and so it keeps rotating and rolling through, so that when you're driving down the street, you're looking at different styles and different homes and variations. They're very much following a similar model in Haven. So I don't really have a concern of it being too. I just don't want them to keep rolling out the same product everywhere, and I believe that there's enough variation that there's going to be the separation and we'll be fine. I'm not concerned about it.
Nice. Another question. Do you know how obviously once the builder or the developer puts up their cost, we wouldn't sell it for more than what the developer's advertising?
Yeah.
When would be a time when we would sell? Like, when would the developer? When's this actually project finished? Not our stage, but in the future would be time to sell it. Is it like maybe you say 8 years, or like how long is this development going for?
Yeah, good again. Really good question. Look, once the developer is going to have staged releases, and they're going to set the tone as far as future capital growth and prices for us. Now, as I mentioned, that's really terrific, because we won't need to find the market. They're going to find and establish the market for us. So if we buy a property in Haven, settle it in 2023, then decide in 2025 that we want to sell it, you're going to find sales are going to be really, really easy, because they'll still have the display suites, they'll still have a marketing team, they'll still be attracting people to the development. And as the development grows, you'll find, and Lisa, you can back me up on this with a new housing estate. Once a new housing estate gets started and the road and infrastructure goes in, and you've got footpaths and you've got street lighting and you've got some homes going in, it then creates its own momentum and its interest, and people find the estate much easier to discover. Okay, that's the good news. Once the developer, Michael, finishes, and they've still got 6 years to run, once the developer finishes and they've gone from the project, okay, then it changes. Then you can set your price to whatever you believe the market value of that property is, and you're no longer going to be competing with available product and stock from the developer. So once the 6 years are over, it's open-ended. Okay, so then it just comes down to what you believe that the market values are. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, definitely. Another question as well. So how much do you think will actually be owner-occupied, and how much would be investment for this development? Like, do you reckon we'll struggle finding tenants if there's so many release, or no?
No, I really don't. Look, the sales consultancy agents have said that 90% of the product has gone to owner-occupiers, but you know what? The agents have said that on every development which I've gone to. So that's the stock standard line. According to agents, investors never buy their stock. They're always owner-occupiers, which is obviously a load of crap. And there's obviously investors which are buying in there. But because of the size of the product and what the product is, I genuinely believe that it's a product that is going to appeal more to families and to owner-occupiers, first home buyers getting into the market. I definitely 100% believe that they're going to make up the vast majority of the of the purchasers. And there's just not as many investors in the market as you'd think. The most of the buyers in the market, the vast majority are owner occupiers at the moment. So I don't think for a brand new product there, I don't think that we're going to have any trouble finding tenants. In fact, this is my experience when it comes to these sorts of projects. What typically happens is this contract's a 1090 contract. So it's a normal contract. So you pay a 10% deposit. Okay, we can talk about that in a second. But it's a normal 1090. So you pay your normal deposit, then you don't pay another cent until the property settles. Okay, and then you've got your home loans set up, your loans set up. You use your bank finance, you settle the property in 2023. Okay, before the developer says, "Oh, we have now finished, you have to pay us," they have to give you notice that they're ready to settle. I forget what section number that is. Lisa, you're in the building game. Can you remember what that is called?
Don't know.
No, there's
Don't know what it is.
yeah, but there's a notice that's given, right? So the notice is given. So the developer gives you a notice saying that that settlement is imminent and you need to get yourself in a position and get yourself ready for settlement. It's in that time frame. It's in that time frame that I then go and have a chat with all of the local real estate agents. Okay, negotiate lower management fees and arrange access through the developer and agents to allow our real estate agent to show prospective tenants through the property. So before we've settled the property, we have the opportunity of marketing our property with the local estate agents, showing prospective tenants through the properties and signing leases on those properties ready for settlement. So what I've found in the past, this is the way it's worked in reality, in real life. Bought the property, done nothing for 12 months, get the notice from the developer, we're going to be settling in 4 weeks' time, go appoint a real estate agent, the real estate agent puts it on the internet, they start showing a prospective tenants through. It's a brand new property, smells great, carpet smells great, everything smells really good. So my experience is you tend to get lots of rental inquiries and lots of applications because it's brand new. Everyone likes the idea of living in a brand new property. So you tend to get lots of rental applications. You accept one of those tenants, okay, before you settle. You then settle the property. The key's ready at settlement. You give it straight to the real estate agent that's managing your property. They give it to the tenant. The tenant moves in the day you settle. Bob's your uncle, and it's rented from day one. That's my real life experience. That's the way it's worked. So we use that opportunity, that window, to start showing prospective tenants through prior to settlement.
Nice, that's good. Good to hear. Good to hear.
Yeah.
With the finance stuff too, do you know how obviously you paid 10% deposit up front? Do you do the offer subject to finance? Yeah. Yep. Now, when is the finance clause usually due? Is that like at the start when you sign the contract, or is it towards the end that last month when finance is due, as in like the condition?
Okay, Michael here, just so that you guys know, Michael is actually our finance guru here, so I'm going to be very careful what I say because Michael can correct me if I'm wrong on this. But no, first of all, this is my experience. As I mentioned, it's a 1090 contract, so it's a typical contract. So what the developer wants is they want a 10% deposit, and then the balance gets paid at settlement. Right, that's the first thing. The first thing I do is I negotiate that we either pay a 5% cash deposit, and for those people that don't have a cash deposit, that we use a deposit bond or bank guarantee in lieu of a cash deposit. So if you don't have the 10%, deposit, so you don't have $70,000 at the moment burning a hole in your pocket, okay, don't worry about it. We'll get that sorted out, okay? Because not many people, let's face it, have got 70 grand just sitting around in a drawer somewhere waiting for me to come along and spend their money, okay? Most people have got their money, it's paid off against their home loan to reduce their debt and their mortgage and their interest rates, okay? So they usually have to access the equity that they've got in a property, and in order to do that, we use an instrument that's called a bank guarantee or a deposit bond. Okay, so 5% cash deposit, 10% bank deposit bond. I'll put on there subject to bank finance, but at the moment, no one, me included, no one is going to get formal bank finance from any lending institution now for a property that's going to settle in 2023.
Correct.
Okay, because what can happen between now and 2023? Interest rates can go up. You can lose your job. Your partner becomes pregnant, or you become pregnant. Whatever, right? Life happens. Circumstances change. So if you put in an application to the bank now, those circumstances in your application can look very different by 2023. So what we want to do now, and the only thing we can do now, is to take as many precautions as we can. We speak to our preferred lenders and we get an indicative finance approval. So based on who we are now, based on our salary and our life expenditure and our expenses, mortgages, etc., what do I look like as a borrower? Do you think, Mr. Lender, or Mrs. Lender, that I look like I would be a good bet? And do you think that, based on the information which I've given you, that I should be able to get a home loan? Okay, so that's the chat that we have with our lending institution. Okay, it just so happens with Haven, now every project and every negotiation is very different, and it's very individual. And so I don't know how this is going to go. Okay, we can all say, yeah, we want to go and buy a townhouse. This is the best townhouse we've ever seen in our entire lives. And we go and we make up an offer, and the developer says, go and nick off. I don't want you, because I want to get 5% below market value, and I want to save each of us 40 grand. But the developer doesn't have to sell me anything. The developer can simply turn around and say, you know what? I've sold 111 of my products already. Okay, I don't need your 5 or 6 or 7 sales at 40 grand off. I'll just keep selling them for the full price. Okay, so every negotiation is different. With Haven, they have a letter that they want from us, which I've never seen before. This is unique to Haven, I've got to say. This letter here, they want us as purchasers, any purchaser, to have a chat with our financial institution and actually have a chat with them to see if we look like we'll be okay to go and get finance. So everything I've just said about going and talking to our financial lenders and seeing if we can seek approval in principle, at Haven, they actually demand that we do that. This is the only development I've ever come across that actually asked that. So they would like us as prospective purchasers, if we are to buy a townhouse and make offers, etc., they would then like us to do a financial health check. And it's a letter that says that we have obtained financial information from whoever our preferred lender is, and conducted a credit report check of our credit file and confirmed our income and employment and all those sorts of things, and saving history. And so Haven have actually gone a step further and would have formally asked purchasers to do that. So look, again, all we can do, we can't go and get formal finance approval at this stage. But if we wish to proceed and you want to buy a townhouse at Haven or anywhere, what I'd like you to do is have a chat to your financial lender. So you're going to start with your personal bank manager, whether you do your own banking. Have a chat with them about your capacity to borrow money, and make sure in your own mind that you are as satisfied as you can be that you can afford to buy a property. Okay. Now, what's happened in the past, whenever I've done these buying groups, I've always had a situation with a buying group where I've had usually everyone in the buying group says, yep, really love it, I want to buy one of these products or one of these properties which I'm recommending. And then out of the group, there's always 1 or 2 buyers that unfortunately just isn't quite there. They're just not quite at a level where they can afford to buy in the project which I've found. So what I'd like you to do is, if you're interested in buying one of these, I'd like you to work on the basis that in an ideal world, you're going to buy one in your name or you're on your partner's name. Have a chat with your financial lender. See if you can afford the property. The financial lender is going to say, yep, no worries, fine, you're right to go. Or they're going to say, listen, you're not quite up at that mark. And you know what? You're only a $600,000 purchaser, okay? And you need $700,000 if you're going to buy this property. I now have got a product for you, okay? In the past, I've always had to say to those purchasers that aren't quite up to the mark, I've had to say, look, I'm really sorry, you can't buy it. We're going to wait until the next bulk buy, and we'll look for the next project and then see if you can buy into the next project. Okay, I've now got joint venture agreements, and I've now got a product which will enable us, if you're interested, to still buy into this particular project. But the first and best way to buy into the project, in my opinion, is if you can buy a property in your name, and just in your name, because it's then your property. And the benefit with that is that you can sell it whenever you want to sell it. You can move into it if you want to move into it. You can rent it out on short-term stays. You can rent it out on long-term stays. It's your property, so obviously you have full control on that property. Whereas a joint venture, by its very nature, you're then sharing that with someone. So you can't, if you decide you want to sell it, well, you have to consult with someone else. It's not just your decision. Okay, so there's a joint venture product, and there's just buying it in your own name. Okay, all right. Do I cover everything, Michael? Was there another part of that question?
No, that was pretty much everything.
So-
Because another thing is, yeah, because with like my finance, for example, so yeah, that's fine. Like I've already done my health check and stuff, so it's all good. The bank
work
pretty
in
much
finance.
yeah, exactly right. I've done my checks myself. So essentially, it really will come down to like a valuation too on the
Yep.
property.
Yep.
So obviously, that month when they give us the notice that we need the valuation for the property, that's when we'll get that checked out then too.
Yep.
But for whatever reason, if the valuation come back and there was issues with it,
Yep.
will that finance clause cover us then, or what's
Okay.
your thoughts?
No, look, you know what, let me backtrack, because you know what, as soon as I finished, I thought, hang on, I'm not sure if I've actually covered it entirely. What we're going to do is, when we make an offer, okay, we're going to make an offer. Let's just, for argument's sake, let's say that we're going to buy, let's say we're going to buy 5 townhouses, okay, 5 townhouses, and let's say each townhouse is worth $750,000. Okay, so I would then work out the market value as being 5 times 750,000. I then want to take off my discount. I'm going to start at 10% below market value. So I'm going to go in at an offer that's 10% below, and then I'm going to haggle on the consideration. Okay, so going backwards and forwards with the consideration. As part of our offer, I'll explain to the developers that our offer is subject to a 5% cash deposit or a 10% deposit bond, okay? And it's subject to bank finance. Now, the developer is going to turn around and say, hang on, you can't make it subject to bank finance because no one's going to give you formal bank finance now, right? And that's fair enough. No one's going to give us formal bank finance now. And no one is going to agree to give us a subject to bank finance clause that goes to 2023.
Yep.
Okay, no one's going to give us that. Okay, and this is the reason. You've got to put yourself in the developer's shoes now here for a second. A subject to finance clause is a conditional sale. So it's like a get out of jail clause. Okay, if you just change your mind, you can simply get out. Because if you changed your mind, you simply say to your lender, I don't want to buy that property anymore. Just say that my finance isn't approved, whack it on letterhead, I'm out. Okay, so you could buy a townhouse now at Haven. That townhouse is taken off the market and reserved for you. But if they reserve it till 2023, they haven't actually made a sale. So from the developer's point of view, no developer is going to give a purchaser a contract that lasts for 2 years. Okay, so the best I can do is say, we're buying it with a discount, I'm covering the deposit, and we want a subject to finance clause. The subject to finance clause then goes for 2 weeks. Okay, I'm going to ask for 4. We usually end up 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, in that 2 or 3 weeks, we're then going to have a chat to our financial lenders, and we're going to complete this letter for Haven that says that we have gone and done our preliminary checks, okay, to satisfy ourselves that we believe that based on the information that we've provided, that we're going to be able to get bank finance, okay? We all do that. We all get our approval in principle, then our subject to finance clauses expire and the sale becomes unconditional, okay? The settlement is proposed to happen in 2023, right? But the developer will give us progressive updates throughout the contract to let us know how the buildings are going and each stage that they're going through, and they'll give us the photographs of the build, and we can visit the project. So we'll know before the property settles, we will know months ahead of time when the property is due to settle. Then about 90 days before, 90, 100 days, 110 days, something around there, before the anticipated settlement date of the project, then we'll go for the formal finance approval. And then what we do, and Michael, you can help us on this because you work in finance. This is what I would normally do. Let's say again, we've bought 5 townhouses. Okay. Let's say for the 5 townhouses, we've paid 700,000 each. So our total purchase is 3.5 million. Let's say of the 3.5 million collectively as a group, we need to borrow 2.8 million. And I'm one of those borrowers, by the way. I mean, I need to borrow money, okay? So I then go to the bank, okay? And I have a chat to the bank about their interest rates and what deals they can do for us and negotiate the loans. And I take in with them all of the financial analysis, which includes the comparable sales evidence, the contracts, the rental guarantees, the depreciation schedules, the cash flow statements, etc. Everything for me. Walk in with the bank manager, get the formal bank finance approved, and then say, right, okay, now that deal that you've done for me, I've got 4 more guys which are behind me, and they need the exact same. They need the same deal. So what can you do now for 5 loans worth 2.8 million rather than 1 loan versus for $700,000? So I negotiate lower rates and better bank deals for each of us because we're doing it collectively as a group.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, the higher the loan amount, the more better interest rate you're going to get.
That's right. So if I can walk in there and say, I mean, I'm one borrower and I'm one client, but if all of a sudden I've got 5 clients, 5 deals, right? And the conveyancing's exactly the same. Okay, so when I walk into the conveyances, I say, listen, here's the contract which I'd like you to review and act on our behalf for conveyancing. So here's the contract. Now, you know what? I've got 5 which are exactly the same. It's the exact same contract. If you review one contract, you've reviewed 5 contracts. Okay, so the only difference is the name on the contract changes, and maybe the consideration might change a little bit, but the actual content's the same. So 1 review equals 5 reviews. So what's your best price now based on 5 lots? We want a lower rate because you're doing it in bulk. The finance works the same way.
Yeah, too easy. Thank you.
What we're going to get when it comes to those valuations, mate, what I'll do is when I'm going for the finance, and I'm going for that finance, 110 days, 120 days before settlement, right? Then I'll get the new comparable sales evidence. So what we'll have is we will then have because the sale prices will have gone up. Okay, because we've now got new stages which have been released, and the developer's been selling townhouses at a higher price. So our valuation will change based on the new sale prices. So I'll put all that together at the time.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Okay. Guys, any other questions? Yep, Mimo?
Talking about the bank deposit.
Yep.
Do we need someone told me that we need to put for example, $700,000. We need 10%.
Yep.
It's $70,000.
Yep.
We need to have those $70,000 in a term deposit locked in that I cannot touch, and that's how the bank will give me the bank deposit. Is that right?
No, I've never heard that before.
Hmm.
Have you ever heard that, Michael?
Nah, I haven't heard that before.
I've never.
How does that work normally? So, and how much is it for 700?
For a deposit bond?
Yes.
Yeah, for a deposit bond. The deposit bond, they work out the cost of the deposit bond. It's a percentage, and it's based on the amount of money that the deposit's for and the longevity of the deposit bond. So you could have a deposit bond for 4 weeks, or you could have it for 4 years. Okay, so it's a rather complicated formula based on longevity and amount. So look, honestly, I don't know what it's going to cost. We'll get quotes at the time, and you can then work out which way you want to go. So it's in lieu of. Imagine if you got the $70,000 and you borrowed it, you would have been paying interest on that $70,000. Well, you're paying a fee. So it's in lieu of interest. So the lending institution, there's a fee which is attached. And look, the fee is going to be, a couple of grand at least, be a couple of grand. It's a cost of doing business. But look, again, I'll get quotes from different providers. So it's a deposit bond or a 5% cash guarantee. And again, if that doesn't work, then we can always use joint ventures as well. Okay, so we've got different ways of doing it, and it depends on each person's individual circumstances. I think the first thing, before we get too bogged down in all of that, I think that the next step is that each of you need to have a look at the floor plans and at the project. And by all means, again, if you want to go visit the project and you've got the time, drive down and visit it. It's fantastic. The agents down there will help you. They've got fantastic brochures. They've got a bathroom set up. They've got a kitchen set up. They've got all the different floor plans, facades. They'll answer any question that you got. They're brilliant displays. So if you've got the time, go down and check out the display. But the next thing we need to do at this stage is we need to work out who wants to be involved with this project and who would like to buy a townhouse. That's the first thing. That's the fundamental question. Do you want to buy into this project? If you want to buy into this project, which floor plan, which townhouse is the one that you would ideally like to buy? Okay. Then from there, then we will work out, each person's circumstances and where they're at. You're not going to be signing any unconditional contracts. You're not going to be locked into anything. Any negotiation is going to be subject to bank finance, and we will go and have a chat to our individual lenders, and we'll make sure that we, as much as we possibly can, that we cover it and we can afford it, and we can obviously buy the projects, okay, or buy the properties. But that's a first spot to start, and then from there, then we'll work through each step of the way, whether it's deposit bonds, whether it's a cash component, whether it's a combination of cash and deposit bond. It can be a combination of it. Those sorts of things we can sort out.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? No. Okay. All right. Well, really, all that's left, as I mentioned, is really if everyone could just have a look at the floor plans and the facades and the project. Okay. Now, there's 5 of us here. I'm missing a couple of people. Okay. So there's a few people I need to follow up, and I'm going to need to do this again separately with those people. Okay. And I want everyone to have an opportunity to look at the floor plans and make a decision on whether or not they feel they want to participate and be involved in this project. But I'm also conscious of time. I don't want to drag on for weeks and weeks and weeks, because all that's going to happen is the 10 townhouses, or 11, I think there's 11 townhouses which are left for sale in this stage. They're going to sell. Then they're going to make a new release at Haven, and that new release is going to be 15 grand higher. I'll bet you any money it's 15 grand. I don't think it's going to be a cent less. I think it's going to be 15 grand higher, and I've then got to negotiate off a higher starting point. That's all that's going to happen. So what is a reasonable time frame? If I said that a week, is a week from now enough time for people to have a look at those floor plans, visit the site if they want to visit it, and then we come back and we discuss it again and work out.
What happens if you say yes, you want to go ahead and things fall through? I get pregnant or something.
Yep.
And I want to pull out, but you've already committed to say that you've already gone in and negotiated for 7 couples.
Yep.
And now you end up with only 4. What happens then?
Yeah, look, I prefer that doesn't happen, Tim. Honestly, I prefer that doesn't happen, but it does happen, and it has happened before. And look, it happened. It actually happened at Cascade, and it happened at Hampstead Park, where unfortunately we negotiated in good faith because people wanted to buy. And as I mentioned, unfortunately, it has happened where I've usually ended up a bit short with 1 or 2 of the buyers. Okay. It happens, mate. It happens. So look, if I go in and negotiate, and I negotiate on 6, and 6 turns into 5, I've just got to talk really fast. Because what's the choice? I negotiated in good faith. I worked to the best of my ability, and I wasn't trying to lead them up the garden path, but I've genuinely had a case where a buyer can't proceed, and the developer can still go forward with us and get 5 sales, and I'll try to refer and find another buyer for him, or the whole deal can go south. Now, fortunately, I can talk pretty fast, and I've always been able to keep the deal together, but I prefer not to over-promise and under-deliver. So I don't want to go in there and say 10 and then come out with 2, because that's really misleading. But there is no obligation. Okay, but rest assured. Okay, there's absolutely no obligation on your part that if you say, "Yep, I'm going to go ahead," and then you don't get the finance, or you change your mind, then that's fine. No one within our group has got to buy in this project. Okay, so you've all signed up, and you're all part of this buying group, and I really appreciate your faith and you being part of this group. If this doesn't feel right for you and you want to pass and wait for the next buying group, you're more than welcome to do that. But if you decide that you want to buy one in this project, and it is a really good project, I'm not just saying that. I mean, I'm talking because I'm vested in it, because I want to be part of this group and I want to go ahead and buy in here as well. So if you want to buy in this group, and you say, "Yep, I want that townhouse over there," and you can't get the finance, or you change your mind, it's okay. All right. So no one's going to put a gun to your head, and no one's going to say, "Mate, you've ruined it for the rest of us." That's okay. All right. So again, that's why Haven actually want that eligibility letter. I've never seen any other developer do that, but they've actually requested from all their purchasers that the purchasers provide an eligibility letter. Now, that letter, it's not worth the paper it's written on. Okay, it's a load of crap. I know that. The agent knows that, and it's a load of crap because, again, no lender anywhere in Australia is going to give you an unconditional loan approval now for something settling in 2023. But what they want to see is that everyone has done, within reason, as much due diligence and as much health checks as they possibly can, and that's something that we're doing. And that's why we're doing these buyer groups, and that's why we're doing our due diligence, and we're working together and working through these things. So there'll be still plenty of obstacles and things to jump through, but we'll get there. All right. So as I say, I think have a look at the plans. You tell me whether you like it or don't like it. If you don't like it, it's okay. If you don't like it, it's fine. But have a look at them, make up your own mind. Again, I think that, I'd like everyone to have a weekend to think about it. And over that weekend, potentially, if you've got time, you could whip down there. Michael, you're in Melbourne. If you get a chance, mate, by all means, whip over to the display and have a look. Have a chat with Carol. I think you'll be blown away personally. Have a look at it, and then let's chat again next week.
Beautiful. Sounds good, Mark.
All right. Okay, guys.
Yeah,
All right.
sounds good.
No.
All right. If anyone between now and next week, if anyone has any questions about anything, just give me a call. I mean, you can call me privately anytime. If you think of another question in an hour, you're welcome to call me in an hour or send me an email. So any questions, by all means, let me know. Otherwise, I think that that's it, and I think that we will chat again next week.
Amazing.
All right,
Thanks,
guys.
See you
All
later.
right. Appreciate all of your time. Have a good night.
Thanks,
Yeah,
mate.
see ya.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Okay. See ya.